This is Bob Barr bringing you another edition of Liberty Guard's Bob Barr's Laws of the Universe. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to follow Liberty Guard on social media. The law we're going to be looking at today is actually a twofer. There are two laws that relate to what we're going to be talking about, and they sort of overlap. The first law is law number 33. We've heard of this before. You've heard of this before. We've talked about it before because it's one of those truly evergreen laws of the universe. Law number 33 reminds us that no matter how much power government has, it always wants more. The other law that we're going to be talking about today is law number 85. If the government doesn't want you to own something, it's probably worth having. Now, the context that we're going to be looking at both law number 33 and 85 today has to do with cars, vehicles, and in particular, gas-powered cars and vehicles that run on an internal combustion engine. One of the truly great inventions, particularly its mass production in the early 20th century. In the United States, if you think back over our history since the automobile was mass-produced, really by Henry Ford in the probably second and third decades of the 20th century, Americans realized more so than ever before their love of freedom and the great open spaces to be able to get in that vehicle and travel. Gasoline became plentiful. Cars became cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and people and families and businesses had a degree of freedom that no society, no civilization had ever had before. It was truly one of the hallmarks of being an American or being in America, the freedom to travel the open road. Well, what is the government, our government, and in particular the Biden administration doing nowadays? What they're doing is they are limiting your ability to own a car, to travel in a car, to be able to fill up the gas tank. Why are they doing this? Well, it all boils down to control. It's not just about the environment. The Biden administration would have us believe that they closed down the XL pipeline and stopped other means of producing gasoline because of the environment. We want to save the environment. That's probably part of it with them. They truly believe that by pushing people away from gas-powered vehicles to electric-powered vehicles will save the world, save the environment. Yeah, it won't, but they keep pushing this notion of electric vehicles as opposed to gas-powered vehicles. What we need to keep in mind, and what I would urge all of us to keep in mind, is why the government is doing this. Why are they pushing people toward electric vehicles and away from gas-powered vehicles? It has to do with control. Think about it. When you have a gas-powered vehicle, you are in complete control of that. You don't have to get the government's permission, although there is something hidden deep within the recent infrastructure bill that the Congress passed and Biden signed that contains a very frightening device. Well, they don't call it this, but it's a kill switch. It's a way to demobilize, to stop a car from running. Now, the government says, Biden says, oh, this is important for safety to keep drunk drivers off the road. So beginning in 2026, they're going to require that vehicles have this kill switch in them to protect against drunk driving. It really has little to do with that. It has little to do with safety. It has everything to do with control. And with regard to electric vehicles, your ability to travel long distances is limited. You are completely dependent on an outside source for controlling that vehicle. Not simply the lack of charging stations and the limited number of charging stations in certain parts of the country, but with electric vehicles and more now moving toward self-driving vehicles, that vehicle has to be controlled somewhere by someone or by some machine other than you, the driver. It's going to be a company or the government, or more likely than not, both. So when you look at why the government is pushing against gas-powered vehicles, there's a reason for it, and a very good reason why we should resist this. And in a sense, not buy into this notion of electric-powered vehicles very quickly, or if at all, and certainly not self-driving vehicles without thinking very carefully through what you give up when you move in the direction of this convenience. You give up control. You give up control of your vehicle, and you turn it over to a company and the government being able to control it and to track you. Just recently, in another context, Amazon, there was a problem with Amazon's electronic control devices that people use for so-called smart homes and smart devices, everything from robotic cleaner to getting into one's home. These smart devices, whatever they are, that means you are giving up control. And when Amazon's grid went down, people lost the ability to do those things on which they depend by the convenience of Amazon. It's the same with vehicles, and it's the same with anything else. Government wants control. One of the ways that they are trying to get control of your ability to drive a vehicle, to own a vehicle, to go where you want to go, is this push to electric vehicles and this push for self-driving cars. So keep in mind, the government is trying to convince you not to buy gas-powered vehicles. All the more reason to buy a gas-powered vehicle. And at the root of what the government is doing here is their ability and their lust for power to control you, where you go, what you can do, and when you can do it. So that's our laws for the day. Law number 33, no matter how much power government has, it always wants more. And law number 85, if the government does not want you to own something, is probably worth having. So we appreciate your sticking with us today for this somewhat longer edition of Bob Barr's Laws of the Universe, Law of the Week, because we're talking about two different laws, but it's important. And we look forward to your being with us next time for our next edition of Liberty Guard's Bob Barr's Laws of the Universe. Thanks for being with us. This is Bob Barr, and I'd like to thank you for having checked out our program here today. We appreciate your support, your participation, and encourage you to go to libertyguard.org to learn more about our programs and also to help support to further individual freedom and fight against government abuse. One of the ways, but not the only way we do this, is through Bob Barr's Laws of the Universe, but through many, many other programs in support of individual liberty and against government abuse. So please remember to join us. Go to libertyguard.org and join us once again for Bob Barr's Laws of the Universe. Thank you.
My name is Matt Strickland. Liberty Guard saved my family business. I spent most of my adult life fighting for my country overseas. When I came home, I became a small business owner and sadly realized that nobody would fight for me. Our state and local government were trying to shut my family business down for good. And that's when I found Liberty Guard. With Liberty Guard's help, we won the battle against government overreach. And now my business is thriving and growing faster than ever.
Stand with Matt and others just like you in the fight against government overreach. Join Liberty Guard today.